In many ways, one could consider it where the series initially went a bit too silly, too focused on elaborate set pieces and fancy futuristic gadgets, although it is pretty fun, although indulgent in what opponents of this series most vocally disdain. I much prefer the first two and Thunderball and On Her Majesty's. Yet one must admire the attempts at creating the most monumental film experiences of all time in 1964. A 1964 audience would have been exhilarated. Today, I think one can still enjoy Goldfinger, or one might be surprised at the superior Bond films which exist around it. James Bond films are these adventures which one can return to at any time, reveling in unique qualities, yet the familiar dynamic tropes of an entire series. The ultimate cool and super slick, can handle anything, action man. It's a neat ideal for eventually its arrogance of its own iconography and recognizability, a smug self-satisfaction, injures my enjoyment of the later films, circa Pierce Brosnan, you might say. I'm certainly Afterman of the Golden Gun, really. Yeah. Doctor No introduced a brilliant, not include. I like Man of the Golden Gun, the ones Spy Who Loves Me, including that onward. Doctor No introduced a brilliant, involving narrative, a universe of colour, novelty, and excitement. From Russia with Love expanded it, up the tempo and added a variety of new locations, scaled it up to a stupendous, extremely impressive height. Then Goldfinger became all about the high, big spectacles and forced reliance on Bond's newfound iconic status, rather than slick, cool, yet measured and overall reasonably grounded spy adventure films. Thunderball feels like a retrospective summary of a typical 1960s Bond Connery adventure, gadgets, exotic islands, and many strange, unusual obstacles and dangers, not obsessed with itself, just delivering a quality Bond film. You Only Live Twice was so silly and campy and inane, it was too much. They weren't really taking it seriously there. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I would describe as an admirable attempt at a return to form, something akin to From Russia with Love, and an impressive effort. Diamonds Are Forever was silly, cartoonish slop. I actually think Live and Let Die is a lot of fun, a great return to form, and a very fine introduction to and from Roger Moore. I consider Man of the Golden Gun essentially a superior take on this style. Too silly and elaborate. The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker was way too much. For Your Eyes Only was fairly standard. Octopussy was bland. A View to a Kill, uninteresting. The Living Daylights overall unremarkable. License to Kill better. One of the more likable Bond films overall. GoldenEye is more of an explosion-reliant 90s action film than a Bond movie. The next three are worse than it. Casino Royale transcribed Bond as a 2000s post-Bourne action film. Thought it was pretty great. The next three are notably worse than it. And that's my take on the series, more or less. Oh, and Never Say Never Again isn't very good either, in my disappointed opinion.